It's the big game at the end. It's the big game at the end weekend. We're putting the final touches on the 2021 rule sets, and we are shifting our chat platform over to Discord for 2021. All this and more in 20 seconds. Hey, fellow fanatics, welcome to the Fanatic the Real broadcast sponsored by Football, Darts, and Fantasy Sports Alliance. When you're used to saying the word that starts with S and B and it's the big game at the end of the year, and then you have to try to say it's the big game at the end of the year, it doesn't quite come out the same because, you know, that other word is trademarked and we're not allowed to say that thing. So before we get too deep into this episode that we talk about the big game at the end of the year, let's thank our broadcast sponsor, that is Football Darts. Football Darts is a dart game that combines the skill of traditional darts with the strategies of American football. This innovative dart game is played on a uniquely designed multiple target dartboard. It can be played in sports bars, at tailgate events, as league tournaments, or as a leisure activity in the comfort of your home. If you would like to check out their officially licensed collegiate dartboards, go to footballdarts.com, and now you can find them on Target, Wayfair, and Fanatics. And you know what I'm most impressed with? You all probably heard a whole bunch of clicking in the background while I was doing that, right? I'm swapping screens as that's happening, which is why I'm now looking over on this one. And you guys went away. Wasn't sure if you were still there or not. My script went away. That was all ad-libbed. That means after 65 episodes or whatever we're on now, 55 episodes now, I got that daggone thing memorized. How are you two tonight? I see Coach Belichick has joined us for the night. Coach, how are you?
We're on to next year.
Oh my God. Josh, the only normal brother that's in the room. Josh, how are you?
I am doing above average tonight,
Awesome.
mainly because I have to deal with a below average brother tonight as well.
Hey, Sean, I have a question. You said you mean Super Bowl with the little TM logo out there on the side. Did the TM come up when you typed that in, or did you add that yourself? And if you added that yourself, I want to know how you did that. How are you tonight, Sean? Hey, so the Empty Wagon guys, Brad, Josh, and Eric are going to be back this weekend. They're going to be doing their deep dive into running backs. They will be on midnight East Coast time going from Friday into Saturday. Find them on all of the major platforms. Go out and look for them on at Empty Wagon FF. If you want, you can also find them on all of their Twitter handles that are coming across the bottom of your screen right now. All else fails, go out to fsa-fr.com, and then beginning on 1 March, you'll be able to find their podcast under the umbrella of Fantasy Sports Alliance, wherever we have our podcast streams, which Coach, tell them where they can find all of our podcasts at.
You can find all of our podcasts on anchor.fm, Spotify, Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and anywhere else you may find podcasts for your listening pleasures.
I like when he says listening pleasure. And Josh has a nice little private message to Kevin and I here that says, knowing Super Bowl is trademarked and we can't say it would have been nice to know for our show last night. How did the Average Bros go last night? I got to watch you guys as a fan last night instead of as a contributor. How was it?
It went well. We continued on our series, which you're familiar with. Where in the world are they now? So our rankings go up and down through last year's FSA ADP. So it was fun. Wrapped up round 5. Looking to get some more fun going on later here today, though.
I was going to say, we're going to do something kind of similar tonight, too, yeah?
Similar. We'll see how it goes.
See how it goes. All right. Hey, if you like tonight's show, make sure you go out and follow us on all of our social media. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all of the million of podcast platforms that Kevin just went over. Just go out and search Fantasy Sports Alliance, and you can find us on all of them. Sean says nobody cares if you say it or not. Well, let's hope so. Let's hope nobody comes back and hits us up because we're saying Super Bowl so much tonight. Let's talk about the Super Bowl. I couldn't, in good conscience, for the second week in a row, wear a Tampa Bay jersey, even though it is a former player of Tampa Bay, Jameis Winston. I couldn't do it because I just don't want them to win this weekend. So I happen to have this Tampa Bay Lightning jersey sitting around. That is probably, we did the math earlier, right? This jersey is probably like 26 years old now, which that's older than both of you, right?
Yes.
Yes, it
Oh
is.
my God, I didn't even think about that till just now. This jersey is older than both of you. But of course, I got the Kansas City hat on because I want Kansas City to win. What's the latest point spread? Has anybody heard? I think it was at
3.5.
3.5. Okay, Kansas City favored.
Unfortunately.
Okay, so do I go ahead and Kev, do I go ahead and ask you first? You've got the Coach Belichick get up on tonight. I mean, do we already know who you hope that wins the Super Bowl? The big game at the end?
Yeah, I'm Buccaneers on this. I believe if Brady wasn't there, I'd probably still be Buccaneers on this.
Really? Who would be the
yeah.
quarterback if it wasn't Brady then, and you think would still win this?
It could be quarterback X. It wouldn't matter. I'm not necessarily a fan, and I know this sounds ironic, when it's not my own team. I'm not a fan of teams continuing on that success. I like seeing new faces hoist the trophy. The Buccaneers themselves have not done it since 2002. So that would be fun to see. Granted, I know it's the same faces, seeing Brady, AB, Gronk, a lot of big new names there doing it for them. But I want to see a new name hoist it, new team.
But with the same damn quarterback.
Hey, happens sometimes.
All right, Josh, who do you got for this weekend?
I am going to go the other direction, and I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs. I despise the Buccaneers because they are division rivals, and just purely because I don't think there's going to be any way that they can stop Kansas City's offense. I know we dove into it a little bit last night on the Average Bros, and we talked about how you got to take out their release valve with Kelsey. You got to take away the deep ball from Tyreek Hill. I just don't think it's going to happen. I mean, you saw what happened last time they played. Tyreek Hill had like over 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. I don't think it's going to be the same thing, but I just don't see them holding anybody on their offense.
I apologize tonight, too, if you all see me looking down at my phone a lot. I've got stuff coming in from work tonight, and I can't ignore it, so I apologize. I don't normally like to touch my phone during a broadcast. And Jenna on with us tonight. Jenna says, and screw Brady.
Yes, and screw Brady.
Thank you. Jenna, how are you? And screw Brady. That's the theme for the rest of the night.
I'll tell you that this is also the tiebreaker. Brady versus Mahomes is currently at 2-2.
Interesting. Did not know that. All right, so Mahomes is going to get the tiebreaker, go 3-2, win the Super Bowl. Cool, got it. I like it. Hey, so we touched on this last week, and then we had the Pro Bowl celebration this week. So there was no playoff challenge for us, but we kind of already scratched the surface. It's going to be a big shakeup in the whole thing. I think Chris Simpson brought it up in the chat group earlier this week that he wanted to know who E.T. Spencer was. We said, it's Todd Spencer, the guy that won the playoff challenge with us last year, is sitting in 22nd place, but also the first team to have all players at ×4 right now. So very good chance of still winning this thing. Probably only about 3 or 4 teams that stand in between him and first place right now. So, Todd, if you're out there listening or watching this, good luck, and we'll see how it looks at the end of this weekend. Jenna says, your boy asked about Sandlot last night. He didn't know where it was from. Really?
I did know where it was from. I haven't actually sat down and watched the movie, but I know.
Stop it. Wait a minute. Why are you even on this broadcast anymore? I didn't even know this about you. Kevin, explain this to me.
So I have a Sandlot Squints jersey that you might have seen me wearing yesterday.
Hold up. Can I just intervene real quick? Can I just?
No, you
I'm
can't.
gonna
In the
let.
middle of a story.
No. I'm gonna let you finish your story. But this real quick, Brian. If I
Yes.
remember correctly, you said you were a fan last night. If you were a fan last night, you should know this story.
Maybe was it really early? Did I stop paying attention for a little bit?
I don't know.
What happened last night?
Kevin, continue the story now.
Oh man, now you know
Oh,
what? Ouch. Damn.
He just spun that around real quick,
He
huh?
sure did. That was pretty good. Yeah, he can stay on the show.
He said, "You start throwing me under the bus. I'll show him."
Right, no doubt. Now,
Oh,
how did I miss that? When Jenna said that, I didn't know what she was talking about.
Yeah, so I have a Sandlot jersey that I was sporting last night, as you've seen my movie jersey collection. And Josh goes, or somebody in the comments said, "Oh, I like the Sandlot," and Josh goes, "What's that?" jokingly, but the fans got on him about messing around. One being his own mother, and
I do
saying, and
remember. I
"You're
do
killing
remember
these
mom
boys."
making. I do remember mom making the comment about the jersey. So I was there, right there at that moment. Somehow I missed it all. And Chris, you're not helping any at all. Chris says I was definitely here when it was being discussed. Thanks, man. But thank you. Appreciate you all very much. Hey, so playoff challenge. Talk about some NFL news. I didn't think we were going to have any, but then just before we went live, I asked Kev, "Hey, do we have any NFL news that were different from what you guys put out on Average Bros last night? Tell me about this barber story and whatever the heck is going on there."
I will.
So the Kansas City Chiefs, 20 of them, all went to the same barber to get their hair done up nice and pretty for the big show.
They all want to look like Patrick Mahomes so they can get that Patrick price.
And for some odd reason, they started getting their hair cut before getting the COVID test back from the barber. And they got the test mid haircuts, and abruptly and aggressively, the report says, stopped the haircuts, re-quarantined everybody, and tested the 20 that were involved. And they're waiting those results back.
Can I show
the Super Bowl a week?
Can I show the picture that I showed you before the show, Brian?
Yeah, if it'll show up on the screen better this time.
All right, hold on.
This has got to be. I think I'm with you though. This has got to be photoshopped, right?
Oh yeah,
that's how you abruptly stop a haircut. That's for sure.
Just perfectly halfway through.
That is a lineman cut though, straight ball.
That's some fine photo editing there for sure. Let's see what it said. They had tested the barber 5 times. He had been negative for 5 days. Then during that, he finds out that he's positive. Chris says, at least that's what I read. You know what? This tells me even more. I was saying, Josh and I were talking before the show. I said, this is their way of making sure Tampa Bay wins this Super Bowl and Tom Brady gets himself another ring. And we're right back to the WWE discussion we've had a couple weeks ago.
Well, I don't know about that because Tom came out and said in a report saying that that next year will be better than this year.
Before we get into that, Jenna, have a good night. And then you know what else I missed? I think I saw Jenna up here as well. Jenna, how are you? Jenna, number 1 or 2, however you want to go. Tell Taylor I said hi and I love him. So he's going to have a better year next year?
Yes.
I told Kevin. So I told Kevin that if the Buccaneers lose in the Super Bowl or big game this big weekend, however you want to say it, that the NFL is officially rigged.
He's going to be in a wheelchair next year. How can it be better? He's old.
Well, he said that he can see himself playing till 45. It's another 2 years.
He did say that.
And so I believe that means that somebody would have to be crazy enough to recontract him because I believe he only has 1 more with
I think you're right.
With Tampa.
Well, honestly, even if he were to lose and then still get them to the playoffs next year, Tampa Bay would re-sign him in a heartbeat.
So we're going to go back to the argument.
I think they would.
We're going to go back to the argument that Ryan Leaf had the other week on Instagram when he said, I can't believe the ability or the level that Tom Brady's still playing at 45 or at 43 because he tweaked his back just stretching to go get up in the morning to go do a little bit of extra exercising. And without revealing my age too much, I am 45 as well. And I decided that I was going to try to impress my children the other night. And have you both heard of Bring Sally Up? It's a push-up challenge where during the song it says bring Sally up and bring Sally down. So you're supposed to do push-ups throughout this. Well, when I first became a first sergeant, I had the shoulder surgery. I couldn't do bring Sally up or down, couldn't do push-ups. So I would grab my maintenance crew and we would do bring Sally up, bring Sally down to squats instead. And the song is about 3 minutes and 40 seconds long. And we would do squats the entire time. Very, very good at doing that after a while. Haven't done it in a while. Decided I wanted to impress my children last night. I think I made it to the 2-minute mark, and that was as far as I got. And it's not like it's a constant 2 minutes of squats either. So more power to him. I mean, we might as well go ahead and let him play until silver retirement at 65 years old and continue winning.
That's 2 minutes. That's 2 minutes longer than me.
See, I don't. That's where you messed up, Brian. If you wanted to impress him, wear a green shirt on a green screen. Would have saved you much aggravation.
They do love watching your floating head on the screen, that's for sure. Jonathan says, Tom said he will work his ass off this offseason and be back better than ever. And then Tampa will redo his contract, so he will be there for 2 more years. He will do this so they can keep the wide receivers. I'm hoping so. So we had a little bit of a talk, I think, during the Average Bros you guys did last night, and I know we've mentioned it before, that one of them, too, Chris Godwin or Mike Evans, probably gone, right? They can't probably keep both of them at the end of this year.
Well, I think they're both coming up on contracts. Godwin off his rookie deal.
Okay.
So they're both very cheap compared to what's out there. Relatively speaking, anyway, on the deals that they have, they are currently playing for cheap. What they re-signed for, I don't know. But you got to imagine if you go to a Super Bowl with Tom Brady, and even if they lose, if Tom comes back next year and they say, "Hey, we have a shot to go again," and they don't lose much outside of the receiving core, then you got to assume that they're going to take a team-friendly deal to come back.
Yeah, because they're. If Evans and Godwin are both going to be a free agent this year, that means that alongside Antonio Brown, they potentially might not have all three of their starting receivers.
I think any two of them with a Scotty Miller is still a pretty good. And even if Gronk leaves and you got OJ Howard and Cameron Brate there, I think you still have a very good team.
Scotty, I'm faster than a Cheetah Miller.
I'm faster than Scotty Miller at 45 years old, whatever. Even after 2 minutes of squats. Hey, so at the top of the show, we mentioned a couple of things about finalizing the rule sets for 2021. So a lot of discussion over GroupMe over the weekend and during the week of what we're thinking about doing. We had already had the discussion about what is the point thing going to look like, or the changes in the points for 2021 going to look like for the redraft. We put out a poll here on GroupMe, and the poll came back, not overwhelming majority, but a higher percentage of people said, let's go ahead and do full PPR and then 1.5 points per reception for tight end. So a tight end premium. So that is put into the rule set. The other thing that we played around with was, what are the playoffs going to look like if we do 10-10s? We wanted to adopt that McIntyre playoff system, just like we used in the QB54 arm and leg league this year, how we're going to seed those teams, right? So we did say that for tiebreakers inside the divisions or inside the regions, as we get ready to go to the regional playoffs, are going to be decided by points for instead of a head-to-head like we've had in previous years. And then when we get ready to roll over into the World Championship and we take those 10 regional champions with us, we're going to go off of the new power ranking system that we're going to use in 2021, which will not include quality wins anymore. It will be a very simple equation of your number of wins times your all-play record. So it should be much easier to calculate, should be much easier for you all to look at and kind of see where you're going to be located before the list even comes out. And then that's what we're going to use to seed our teams 1 through 10. Now, how do we lay those 2 5-team McIntyre playoffs out to face off against each other when we have that 1 through 10? That's the part that we still need to play around with a little bit. We are open for suggestions. I think we have 2 or 3 courses of action out there right now of what that's going to look like. probably will look at it a little bit more this weekend as well. So if you have some ideas of how you think they should be seated, let us know. Easy right out the gate, opposite sides of the bracket. Number 1 and number 2 are going to be your first round buys. But then how do we seed the rest of them to make it seem fair with the way that McIntyre system plays out? You guys got any quick suggestions right now that you feel that it should go?
You know me, I'm a visual person. I would have to draw it out and then play with the numbers.
And you know me. I mean, we're talking about playoffs. I don't know what playoffs are. I can't give my input if I don't know what they are.
So just for a visual, Kev, if you want to look real quick, this is what we're looking at for the playoffs for next year. I don't know how easy that will be for you to see, but across the top here, we got our number 1 and our number 2 seeds. I'm sorry, I flipped these around. So here's your number 1 seed, and let's say essentially this is your number 2 seed down here where Anthony Monhay is on the NFC side. But what you could see the way that this is played out is instead of the traditional 2 would play 5 and 3 would play 4. In this case, it's a 2, 3, 4, 5 play against each other. Reason being is in that first round, that 4-5 is a knockout game, right? Whoever loses that game is gone. Everybody else is on double elimination for the rest of the tournament. But in this case, we're not just doing a 5 and a 5. We really are doing a full 10. So in this case, we've said a 7 and 8 play against, or a 7 and a 10 and an 8 and a 9. I think it was a suggestion by Sean Purcell. So what does that look like? I mean, that's the suggestions we're looking for from the crowd, the gallery, the alliance. So let us know what you think. Sean says reverse snake. I think it was actually Sean that brought that up. Sean, you and I will have to talk offline, so I understand what that means a little bit more. We can put it in as a possible course of action. And Jonathan says, I believe Jonathan was the winner, so I like this version. Speaking in third person because he was, in fact, the winner of the QB54 Arm and Leg League. I do have to find out, Jonathan, if Randy's received his chairs yet or not. I got to get with Mike and Frank Silva from QB54 and see if they've sent him out to him yet or not. I know they do have his address. So I will check in with him this weekend and find out what's going on there. So speaking of QB54 Arm and Leg League, we changed the scoring system there, right? So we're trying to figure out a way to balance them out a little bit more. But we think even with the changes, we're not sure if it really does bring the kickers any closer to the quarterback. So here's what we did. Couple additional scoring categories. The quarterback, this is more for breaking of ties because the system was very simple last year. Basically a 6, a -3, kickers getting 3, 4, 5, and 1 with no negatives. So what we're doing is we're adding a decimal point to the quarterbacks for the length of the touchdown that they throw because they're only getting points for the touchdowns, right? They're getting the 6 for the passing touchdown. So you're getting a 100th of a point for every yard that they throw the touchdown for. So if it's a 54-yard touchdown, then that touchdown is worth 6.54 points. All right. An additional one that we threw in there, and I think, Kevin, this was probably your idea. I think it was your idea. A pick 6 was even more negative. So -6 for a pick 6 instead of just a -3.
I mean, that's a good idea. I wish I could claim that. But
what do you think you come up with that? Maybe Sean came up with it. Somebody on right now with us probably is the one that came up with it. So if you're out there, own up to it. Let us know it was you. Then for the kickers, we decided to add the decimal points for the length of their kick as well to match what we already have in the redraft. So instead of a 36-yard field goal being only 3 points, it will be now worth 3.6 points. And they will get negatives for missed kicks at extra points or anything under 50 yards, which also matches what we do in redraft. Brian Lewis, one of our guys that's been with us for a couple of years, said he still thinks the biggest advantage in this league is just having that number 1 overall pick. So we were trying to figure out a way to balance it. Scoring was a way to go. But he thinks better that maybe the changing of the draft order and maybe also locking people in to a more deadlocked 2-quarterback, 2-kicker roster. And then the draft would be a 3rd-round reversal. So in this case, you're going to see a snake draft for 1 and 2 and then your third round matches the second round, and your fourth round would then match the first round. So that's a possibility as well. Also, thoughts on that? Like, if anybody's got any thoughts tonight while we're still on here and want to throw their ideas out there that are live with us, let us know what you think. There's been some talk about us adding a fifth roster spot for being able to move players up and down for waiver wire purposes, and then for the teams to play all four of the players with a locked-in lineup of 2 quarterbacks and 2 kickers. So you can't do 3 and 1. So it would be 2 and 2. So that's a thought as well. What do you think about that?
Make the league a super flex.
Yes. Basically, it's a bench spot. Like right now, we start 2. We have 2 benches. In this case, we start 4 with 1 bench. Possibility.
I have no comments there, as I did not play last year, so I wouldn't see where. I would have to see how it plays out, what the effect of it would be, if it'd be necessary or not. So, but this year I am in. I will be signing up as of March 1st when the leagues go live. I claim first overall. That's how it works, right? Your draft spot depends on where you sign up at.
Absolutely not. So we will still do a draft selection show just like we have over the last couple of years. And we are going to boost the price to get into the QB54 Arm and Leg League this year. It is going to be $20. We are hoping to have a whole lot more players playing with us this year, so the payouts will be bigger on top of QB54 already coming back and said that they're going to donate another set of chairs to our winning team this year. So that's awesome news there. So we'll be $20 to get in this year versus the 10. So bigger payouts for us this year. Chris says, I think being able to play the same position wouldn't affect the game too much. A lot of the times the kickers and quarterbacks have similar points. And he says, what happens when there are buys? You just take an L for that week. And I think Sean, this is Sean's question. So I think that was the point of the 5th spot, was for you to be able to sit a player during their bye week. So really what you need to do is, we still do a waiver wire on the QB54 Arm and Leg League. So you pretty much have to watch your setup for that. This is almost like the King of the Castle, where if you think you're already going to lose for the week and you can only pillage a player from the starting lineup, you go ahead and bench one of your starters that you know is probably going to perform for you when you're back down at that the Esquire and Lady level. So maybe there's some thought behind that. But the things that we can still play around with, right, Kev? You're right. We're going to open up all of the leagues to buy in on March 1st, but some rule sets still to come, which we will be working our tails off on between now and March 1st. We can have as much of that finalized before anybody joins up. As we come up with them, we will send out messages on what is now GroupMe, what is going to become Discord, which we're going to talk about here in a second, and let you all know that the rule sets are out there, or we'll email to you, send out in those groups, whatever, so you all can read. Talk to me about Discord.
First, I want to just make sure that everyone else knows that in addition to the 2 leagues mentioned, Redraft, obviously the mainstay, the flagship, the house that Walter was built around. In addition to that, we have the Arm and Leg League, which we just went over. There will also be a couple new leagues to sign up for. You will not see Dynasty if you're new to it. Obviously, the spots are already filled. I don't believe we have any vacancies. If you're in Dynasty, those will go live March 1st, as well as trading once you have paid up, and we can check your box off. New will be the DoD League for active and former military members only, as well as the Auction League, Auction IDP. If there's interest in either one of those 2 leagues, you can message either myself, Josh, or Brian on Discord, or group me, and we'll get you in kind of the early pool of people to get info on them. But with that being said, the 2 messaging groups, which you would reach out to us on, Discord, we're moving over to, used a lot in the gaming community, as well as has a little bit more feature functionality when it comes to the groups and the channels. It has the at everybody, which I know I'm a fan of.
I
I
know
don't know what else to
that will
say.
be a feature I use often. What I do like about the
Yeah.
Discord, and a little bit of that I've played with it, and Chris introducing it to me, is we no longer have the separate rooms, right? So we don't have this big long list of all of these separate rooms that are all FSA like we do in GroupMe. And I would share a GroupMe screen right now, but there's a lot of work stuff on it as well too that you all are not interested in seeing. But we have one for redraft. We have one for Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta. We have one for QB54. We have one for ideas, the spaghetti room, the off. I mean, just there's so many out there, right? What's nice about Discord is it's an FSA group with all kinds of channels that are underneath it, and each one of those channels has its own hashtag. And like Kevin said, once we're under that group, we have the ability to do at all, where I can reach all of you in every single one of those channels with one message. Before on GroupMe, because most of the players that are in our Bravo dynasty are only playing dynasty. They're not playing in any of the other leagues with us. I want to make sure that they're not missing out on news. So I send a message to the entire alliance group that we have, and I'm copying and pasting that same message to Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, QB54, all those things, that King of the Castle, all of that. Now I don't have to do that anymore. And that is one very nice feature of Discord. So if you don't have Discord already, go out and download the app. You can also have it as a desktop app. It works very well on a desktop as well. If you already have it, let us know. We'll reach out to you and we'll add you, because come 1 March, we're flipping that switch and everything's going to be on Discord. We will be sending emails out that say this as well. That way you all know on 1 March, hey, why am I not getting any message on GroupMe anymore? And I shut the mute off on there that I've had on for the last, season. And now all of a sudden you're not getting any messages and you're wondering why, because we're going to be somewhere else. Chris says you can also mute individual channels. You can be put in certain chats and can be tagged purely to that league you want knowledge of. All really good things. Chris really trying to pin me down so we can sit there and go over it. Just hard with time differences and everything else that's going on. But we will find time, Chris. I promise. We will make sure that this happens. He said there's also a voice channel to help with watch parties in the future to save creating rooms. Oh, that could be fun too. All kinds of fun we can do with this. Hey, so we've been doing the Where Are They Now feature over the last couple of weeks. Well, we've been doing the rounds, right? We went through, you guys finished the 5th round last night. What we're saying is, do we think these players are going to go up and down based on their ADP next year when we're drafting in 2021? Strictly redraft when we're discussing this. We decided to look at this a little bit different tonight, and we're not going to do it by round, right? We're going to do it by position. We're going to do it for the running backs, or the quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and we're doing the top 12 of each position, correct?
Correct.
All right. So, Kev,
Cool.
You take it away, because I know you got the list, and we're going to let Josh go first because Mr. Blue Man over there has been super quiet. I don't want him to think that we forgot about him.
So what I want to do here is this will be based on before we went off by round, right? So, hey, where do you feel like this player should be, up or down? When you take that into consideration, you'll also have to look at runs and other players drafted around him. You're looking at, say, if you're in 5 or 6, you have to look at, well, people already have first running back, so you can take this guy here. I want to know, based on this list, I'm going to give you a number and then tell you who was taken. Or sorry, I want to ask you in this year who you believe should be in that spot, and I'll give you who was taken in that spot last year and see where they move accordingly. If that makes sense to you.
Okay.
So we're going to start with the quarterback position. Number 1 last year was Patrick Mahomes. Josh, in your opinion, who do you see as the QB1 this year, and where is Patrick Mahomes in that list for you?
So who's going to be QB1? Patrick Mahomes. Where is Patrick Mahomes? Number 1. It's easy.
Agreed.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree as well. It's probably the only slam dunk in the three lists that we have here. Pretty hard to uncrown the king until it happens. You don't take the crown off, so he's still number one for me.
And it's not going to
Number
be taken off from this weekend.
show your face. Number two based on last year's ADP was Lamar Jackson. Who do you see as the number two? And where and how far up or down does Lamar go?
I think there would be some people that would argue that he's still number two.
Just because of name.
Yeah, I think they think that this year was a fluke, like a fluke in a bad way, right? But me personally, and this just could be some recent bias of myself, I could see him being 3, 4, or 5 next year. In his spot, I'd probably put Josh Allen.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you. Mahomes 1, Allen 2. I see Jackson in the 5, 6 spot.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree. I'm gonna see Allen going 2, and then I'm gonna say Jackson. I'm gonna say Jackson stays around 3 or 4. The only person I could see being taken before him would be maybe Russell Wilson, just because the weapons are there, and he still presents that ability to be able to use his legs. But like I said, just because of pure name recognition and what people know he is capable of doing, I think it keeps him from falling too far down the list.
Chris Simpson has a very good comment. He says Jackson's 3 for him, but it also depends on Watson's landing spot. And I think it's when you said Russell, I thought you were going to say Watson, Josh, because I would have to agree with Chris here too. I was in my brain, as much as I don't like the guy, thinking Kyler Murray in that mix as well.
Yeah.
But I could almost interchange Kyler Murray and who did you just say? Russell Wilson. I could almost see those be interchangeable, and I think it really does depend on where Watson ends up at, how that all plays out. That whole, I mean, outside of Mahomes being 1, it got and we have a consensus. Well, Kev, you think Lamar Jackson's still 2, right?
No. I think Lamar falls further than you guys.
Oh, okay.
He said 5 or 6.
I have Allen at 2.
Okay, so all of us say Allen at 2, right? Then it gets kind of muddy after that. Like, where do we go from there? I probably would put Lamar Jackson 3. I kind of agree with probably everybody else that's out there right now saying that it was a fluke bad year for him and that he recovers next year and he has that same year that he had last year. And he's the number 3 guy.
So next on the list, off the ADP, Dak was 3rd.
Wow. That's a tough one to try to – I mean, what do we look like? What is the ankle going to look like?
So for me, it's easy, right? Based on the other names that I see on the list, and you're going to be kind of surprised if you don't remember where round by round they were taken. That's why we're switching it to this to be more upfront with where they're at overall. I could see Dak falling down to 10, 12.
There might be a couple more guys that I would put behind him, but it's not far-fetched to think that he could be down that far.
I'm saying that's a little too far. Obviously, he does drop. I'm going to say he drops maybe I'm going to say 8, maybe 7 or 8, because I'm looking here. And
so as you're going down and looking at the list, I say Mahomes, Allen, Murray are my 3. So that's Jackson falling out, Dak falling out.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Simpson agrees with you too there, Josh. He says Dak 7, 8 if healthy.
Yeah, if healthy. Just because, like I said, just because same thing with Wilson, just because of the weapons he does have there, Amari Cooper, Zeke will be at 100% once he gets his. I don't know, because right when Dak got injured, Zeke fell off the face of the planet.
He
They
already got
have
paid. He already got paid. He wasn't going to try to hurt himself.
he has
And
Michael
Dak is a
Gallup,
free agent.
CeeDee Lamb in the second year. Go ahead, Kevin.
Dak is also a free agent this year because he was
Yeah.
tagged.
He was playing
Yes.
with the franchise tag, and it's a very good possibility they put the tag on him again.
And that's the other thing too, is that Dak might not even be with Dallas next year.
World famous Ross Norris on with us. Ross, how are you?
So
Here's a question for you. If, hypothetically speaking, if Watson goes out and gets his trade that he wants, and the Texans cannot cannot find a quarterback to trade for, do you think that they've got the money left to go sign Dak out from the Cowboys?
well,
I
I'll
don't
tell
see
you,
it. I don't see it happening anyways. I don't see Jerry Jones letting Dak go.
and I'll tell. Well, like I
If
said,
that
it's
was
a
the case,
possibility.
they would have signed him. If
It-
that was the case, they would have signed him and not tagged him. They obviously don't value him as much as one might think.
So it's a possibility, and I'm just saying hypothetically, going far out there. If Dak was to be a Texan, and if Watson was to be a Cowboy, I would immediately say Watson's stock goes up because of the weapons he has now, and Dak falls like so far, just because he's going from a true number one and then like a true number two, like really good number two,
One of the
to
best O
nothing.
lines.
Yes, one of the best offensive lines as well to one of the worst offensive lines.
All right. So next on the list here,
Chris
we
says,
had
but they have
Mahomes.
Dalton.
He was a good fill-in for a little bit. I mean, as soon as Dak went down in every league that I had Dak, I immediately went out and picked up Dalton. He was good.
And he got hurt himself.
Yes.
So Mahomes, Lamar, Dak. At number 4 is Russell Wilson.
I could see Russell Wilson, depending on the landing spot of Watson, moving up to number 3. But like again, I say Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson to me are almost interchangeable at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right where I have them. I'm writing down my list that way I don't forget. I have Mahomes, Allen, Murray, Wilson.
Okay. Yeah, I think those two are almost interchangeable. I personally like Russell Wilson better than Kyler Murray. I'm in awe and shock that his game has translated over into the NFL despite his size, but I still hold that against him. And I can't say much. Russell Wilson's not much bigger, right? Like maybe an inch taller, and that's it. I just feel like Russell Wilson plays the game a little bit smarter and less reckless than Kyler Murray.
Number 5, Watson.
I think that is landing spot dependent. And all of these names we're throwing out, we're kind of forgetting to look deep down these top 12 spots, right? And think about some of these guys. This was top 12 ADP. But what about
Correct.
finishes from these guys? As Chris brings up, just the name itself, though, and Rodgers up there on the screen right now has got me thinking, forget about this guy. Probably my clear number 3 right now, but I don't know where he was at ADP of these top 12.
So for me, ADP wise, to recap, Mahomes, Lamar, Dak, Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson. For me, if I was to redo where I see them going in this upcoming draft, in where they should be redrafted, if you will, Mahomes, Allen, Murray, Wilson, Rodgers. I see Watson dropping back because I don't think, out of all the places named, I think that out of all the places named, I think that the biggest front runner right now is to stay with the Texans, which means you have a broken team, which doesn't go up. I think
Yeah.
that every name that has been floated is a long shot because look at what just happened with Goff. Now I know that one's a little bit tricky because it was really Goff, Goff for a first, and the Stafford part was a buyout or something like that. There was it wasn't necessarily a straight deal. It was like two deals put in one to get that done. But regardless, because of that muddy situation and teams already looking at quarterbacks, um, the quarterback market now being flooded with the rumors of Carson Wentz possibly up for trade. So because of that, I think that they're going to wait too long to get anything done, and he stays and drops heavy because of it.
All right. So
Yeah,
now that
that'd
I've
be
been
very
able to
unfortunate
actually make a list.
if he stayed there for this whole situation. I think I'm surprised though that you still have Rodgers at, would you say 5 right now with
Yeah.
that list? I would probably put him at 3. And you know
So
what? And I kind of forgot about him until Chris brought him up.
so I didn't forget about him, but I would rather have like Lamar, Russell Wilson, all of them over Rodgers, just because of the ability to use their legs, and I know how valuable rushing yards can be, and the added ability to get rushing touchdowns. But my list so far, what number are we at, Kevin?
We just went through 5.
So my top 5 right now, I'll do that. I have Mahomes, Allen, Wilson, Lamar, and then Rodgers.
So you have, say that again,
Mahomes, Allen, Russell Wilson, Lamar, and then Rodgers.
Okay.
I would probably do for the top 5 Mahomes, Allen, Rodgers, Wilson, and then probably Lamar. I think Lamar at 5.
See, I still have yet to name Lamar on my list.
I know, and you know what? I'll probably change this again after we get through the next 3. Even when we get down to like 8, I'll probably switch it up again because there's names I'm not thinking of right now.
So the next name on the list is Murray at 6, and I have him jumping to 3.
I have Murray falling to 7.
And I think I just said I just have him at 4, right? Does the retirement of Larry Fitzgerald do anything to him?
I think it does.
I
Because
think it helps him.
who helps Murray?
Yep.
I don't think it does. Because okay, Larry Fitzgerald, he was old, but he was still reliable, and teams knew what he was capable of. I mean, we talked about the stats.
Here's the thing, and I get that he's shorthanded, and I get that he's reliable, but I think that, to me personally, if you look at it playing devil's advocate on the other side, does that reliability hurt a young quarterback's growth? If you have somebody reliable and shorthanded, that means that they're always going to be there and do their job, which means that you're not audibling. If they already know how to read defenses, they've been in the league for 20 years, do you have to read the defense and change anything? Or is he doing it with you on certain routes?
Yeah, but his game wasn't so much about the audibles and going to Larry Fitzgerald. I mean, he did quick reads, and then he dropped the ball and ran with it. That's like how he plays. That's why I said I would probably put Wilson above Murray all the time because of that recklessness and the way he plays the game.
And
but if you look at top scorers, we're not looking at how good that team's going to be. This is pure fantasy speak. And if you're looking at those types of quarterbacks, I mean, look at the top of the list. Mahomes, what does he do? I mean, great. Like, granted, he's got all the weapons to do it, but he also has the ability to, choke the ball down and run with it. Allen, same reason why he's up this high. He's got a deep threat in Diggs, just as I would say the top 2 deep threats are Hopkins and Diggs. So you can't really use that against Murray if you're looking at the deep ball effect. So next thing you do is take off and run with it. I think that he's learning. He's definitely improved over last season, being 2019, 2020 moving up. I think he only grows on it in this upcoming 2021 season.
It's going to be interesting the way we draft quarterbacks next year, huh? When and where is really what it is.
So who did I
who's
say? Who was that? 1, 2, 3. So Murray was 6 on the ADP. On my list, I have that's where I would take Lamar.
I don't know who I would take at 6. I'm going to get through a few more of these picks, and then I'll probably have to rank the 12 when we're all done. It's nice in theory to say up and down, but then you'll throw a name out here at number 11 that I'll be like, oh, no, that guy should be number 4 now.
Yeah, see, I have the added benefit of having
the list in front of you. Yeah.
So number 7, this one's an easy one. Drew Brees.
As we said when we were saying when we were going through it before, pretty hard to draft a guy who's going to probably be retired.
Yeah. So
sorry, John.
So as of right now, off the boards, I would assume for most, I believe he does not have to decide. I believe the NFL has the same date as us. I believe their turnaround date is March 1st for the NFL league year. So I believe if he has to announce retirement before that date, I think that was the whole thing that Peyton Manning ran into as well. So we should know sooner than later on that. But for now, he's off my board.
Yeah, you can't put him anywhere.
Yep. Next on the list is Matt Ryan. And that would be at 8.
I think I would drop Matt Ryan. I think I would drop Matt Ryan behind a healthy Dak.
Ryan isn't even in my top 12. I'll tell you that now.
Now, is that out of bias or is that out of fact?
That's just – I mean, okay, so no, it's not bias. I mean, he was 14 on the whole year. So basically there's 13 other quarterbacks that went or that did better than him. And that's not including quarterbacks like Dak who are injured all year. And then you have teams that are going to be on you have players that are going to be on new teams. You have Tua who could possibly get in there ahead of them. There's still quarterbacks who haven't unlocked their full potential. So I think that there's way more talent than taking Matt Ryan in the top 12.
I swear you and Chris Simpson are sharing a brain tonight. Either he says it just before you say it or you say it just before he types it to us. But, yeah.
Yeah, so for me, I'm not disagreeing with you, Josh. I'm on board with you. I think he's out of the top 12. I don't know why he was ever in the top 12. Matt Ryan is just not that guy for me. I think the reason is the yards. People try to hang on that too much. It's what I like to call the Stafford effect. Always right around that 4,500, 5,000 yard mark, but good in fantasy, not good on the field. I try to relate too much to that. I guess with the acquisition of Gurley and a couple other weapons that they thought they might be able to do something this year, but to me, I don't think so. He's out of my top 12.
I felt the opposite when Gurley and them came in there. I thought to myself that they still don't have the running game that they're going to need, so they're going to be throwing the ball a lot. Yes, that 4,500 yard super attractive. That's why I grabbed him in one of the leagues as well. And just the amount of attempts that he has to throw in a game, mostly because they're always playing from behind, even when they get the leads. So we can call it garbage time if we want, which is great for fantasy. But he was one of the reasons I picked him up in one of my leagues. But do I think he's a top 12 next year? I think it really depends on, some of these guys that are coming back off of injury and that are going to be on different teams, just like Josh said. So what is the trade between Stafford and Goff look like? What does a healthy Burrow look like? A second year Tua, a healthy Dak. What do those guys look like to a Matt Ryan? I don't know if I would drop him out of 12, but I would definitely put him down towards the bottom, like at 11 or 12.
I have my top 12 finished.
I should probably write these down.
So ADP so far, the quarterbacks named that going off of last year's draft was Mahomes, Lamar, Dak, Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, Kyler Murray, Drew Brees, Matt Ryan. That's your
top 8.
Yeah. For me, my top 8 redrafted for this year is going to be Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers at 5. Then you have Lamar, Brady at 7, and Dak at 8.
All right. My top 8 so far is Mahomes, Josh Allen, Russell Wilson, Lamar Jackson, Rodgers, Brady, if the wide receivers are still there.
What number does that put him for you?
6.
Okay,
Kyler
I've got
Murray
him at 7.
Dak, if he's healthy and still in Dallas. Deshaun Watson, if he goes to the Jets or Miami. Justin Herbert, Baker Mayfield, and Kirk Cousins.
Whoa. Kirk at 12?
He's got the weapons.
Yeah, but he can't play on 4 games out the season.
That's just 4 games.
All of his primetime games.
If they give him 4, right?
So next on the list, as you try to mark yours out there, after Ryan was Allen.
We already said he's going to bump up, right?
Yeah, we're all pretty much. I think we had him at consensus too. Next is Brady at 10 on the ADP.
He wins the Super Bowl.
I see him up at 7. Josh had him at 6 ahead of me.
I will say, though, me and Chris really are on the same page because I'm looking at the little list Chris gave us, and he has Herbert, Cousins, and Baker in there.
Let's see, 10. Let's go.
I'm writing my list down now.
So I was gonna wait till after the show, but I'm gonna say it here, and just so we can kind of get Chris's opinion on this and anybody else who is still watching. What do you guys think about releasing the list prior to the show and having us make our list before the show?
Because I think what we're going to do is we're going to get through the quarterbacks tonight. We're definitely not getting running backs and wide receivers. Yeah. We can come back on the average bros on Tuesday night if you guys want and go through running backs. Then you can give us the list and we can be prepared.
Yeah, I think that's what we should do is because one, unfair advantage to Kevin because he has the list. So yeah, I would say give us the list. We can take the time to actually write up our list, type up our list, and have it ready for the show. And then we can kind of like dive in on why we think this person is here. And actually, Chris is saying, I think Lawrence will somehow be up there. He shouldn't go top 10. Honestly, I could see it happening.
I'm going to say it again. I do not believe that his college game translates over into the pros, and I don't think he's going to do much of anything in the pros. It's just me, once again, probably talking out my backside, but I don't believe it's a thing.
So pretty much redraft, we're aiming for, what is it, 10, like 10 of 10?
Well,
right?
12. 10 tens is what we're aiming for this upcoming year, but these lists are based off of 12 for last year's ADP.
Well, no. So what I'm saying is, so we're aiming for 10-10. That means that there's technically going to be 10 drafts. So I can guarantee, I'm going to guarantee in at least 2 of those drafts, he will be taken in the top 10 quarterbacks. Purely just because of name.
Probably. So, to finish out the ADP list, we were through 10 with Brady. 11, probably the biggest dropper for all of us. I would probably say is Wentz. I don't think any of us have him top 12 next year.
He's number 1 for me. Number 1 on the cut sheet.
And then 12 was Rodgers.
We all know he's going up, so
Yeah.
I don't even know how he lasted that long, and how in ADP you would think that even if he was out of 6 regions, if he was drafted late in one, that would be adjusted. But for an ADP of 6 regions to be at 12.
So real quick, Kevin, run through the ADP list for me again. 1 through 11.
Yep, 1 through 11. Well, I'll give you all 12.
Well, I know who 12 is.
Yeah. Mahomes, Lamar, Dak, Wilson, Watson, Murray, Breeze, Ryan, Allen, Brady, Wentz, Rodgers.
So I believe that, so there's 3 quarterbacks there. Even last year, I'm surprised that went before him, and that was Breeze, Ryan, and Wentz. I'm surprised that he went after them.
I'm 2 names away from getting you my list. I'm trying to debate between my 11 and 12 right now.
So I need my 12th man. I've got Mahomes, Allen, Murray, Wilson, Rodgers, Lamar, Brady, Dak, Watson at 9, Herbert, Baker, and I think purely because of the yards, maybe new scenery, I'm going to throw Stafford in there.
Oh, wow.
At 12.
And actually,
if all the pieces stay there, he could be okay in LA.
So I want to mention one thing, and so all I'm going to say is Chris had him, but so far me and Kevin haven't had him, and that is at number 8 on the year, Ryan Tannehill.
So I got him. I just redid my list, right? So
and
I
kind of figured you were going to have him.
Yeah, I got Tannehill at 7. So here's my list. Here's my final list of 12. Mahomes, Allen, Rodgers, Wilson, Murray, Lamar, Ryan Tannehill, Watson, Herbert, Brady, Cousins, Mayfield.
Okay. And then since we're doing top 12, the other name that hasn't really been said is Roethlisberger.
I think he retires, so I'm putting him in my 12. So
I agree, pointing at that guy right there. And you know, somebody I did put in there was Dak again because of the injury, and I forget that he's there.
You have to remember when you're looking at Tannehill, do they bring back Corey Davis, which helps AJ Brown? If not, you're lopsided. That 1-2 effect.
My next question real quick is also, if Roethlisberger comes back, could you see him in the top 12?
No, for me, if you watch the end of the season, he does not have it in him anymore. If he does come back, I fear for his well-being. His knees, his knees and back are so shot from being that pocket type of guy and being known as a brick wall to take hits and not just go down on things to fall. That it's taken a toll on him. I think that if he does play, that he does not finish the season.
I could easily, with this list, if Dak comes back healthy, and dependent on a bad landing spot for Watson, I could put Dak at 7, shift Tannehill down to 8, Watson out of the top 12, and then Herbert, Brady, Cousins, and Mayfield.
You think that the landing spot for Watson, you think he'll be in a worse off position anywhere he goes than where he was this year with the Texans? Because he led the league in yards.
I know, but I think it was such a fluke. Like, how did he do it? Think about this. Like, we're at the WWE point again.
Because he's talented.
There's no way that should have happened. He lost his best weapon and was the passing leader. How does that happen?
Playing from behind because you already have a bad defense.
Yeah, but not nearly as. I mean, he's not playing from behind like a Matt Ryan is or anything like that. Like, it's again, I don't know.
Yeah, he bridges the gap from the amount of times he has to play behind with his talent. He's mobile and he extends plays and he's got a big arm.
My biggest concern is I know this is strictly on the defense, but my biggest concern is how do you get the passing yards record, or not record, but like title, and not make the playoffs? It's just it. I mean, it could also be the same thing with how I was just about to say. Yes, Jameis Winston
30 interceptions and still led in yards.
It's just weird to think about it.
I bet he was over 5,000 yards last. Wait, no. Nobody broke 5,000 last year. I think he was just shy. He probably would have hit 5,500 last year if he had 10 less.
What did Watson's numbers look like after Will Fuller, the fifth one, out because of the PEDs?
When did Will Fuller go out?
Pretty steady because there was later in the year, 13 maybe, 12 or 13.
So, I mean, I can tell you fantasy points. So, week 12 and on, 40.12, 14.94, 14.06, 23.92, 33.26, and 27.8.
So, probably right around a 25-point average.
He still had some big weeks. I mean, week 12 was Will Fuller still there because that was a 40-point week for him, which was his biggest week of the whole season.
I think that was the tight end week, probably. No? Yeah, wasn't there a week where they scored big elsewhere?
I'm trying to think if he had 318 yards, 4 passing touchdowns, rushed for 24 yards. Took 2 sacks. Doesn't say who those balls went to in the way this is broken down, though.
Wait, what week are you talking about?
Week 12.
Week 12 when he had the 40-point.
Yeah, was Will Fuller still in the lineup?
I'm going. Stat guy's gears are turning.
By the way, just to recap to where we were before, while I saw it up on the screen, the salaries that were paid out to Antonio Brown and Chris Godwin this past year, 1.66 for Antonio Brown, 821,000, under $1 million for Chris Godwin coming off of his rookie deal. So very possible that they could keep all 3 receivers because Evans is still under contract, and those 2 there should be cheap.
So Will Fuller was still there.
He was still there. He ended up scoring 35 points that week. That was his biggest week of the season. Also, Watson's biggest week of the season, and then Will Fuller was gone after that.
Well, here's my question, though. Do we think Will Fuller is that good that it was on him for those? To me, he's a 2-3. That's a very slotty team. I think everyone on that team is a slot anywhere else.
But did the PEDs help him for those first 12 weeks? 17, 15, 21, 15, 23, 12, 20, 7, 13, 35. So you have a theory, Kev, that you say if he is scoring, would you say 15, he's your flex? Above 15, he's probably a starter?
No, 15 would put him at 2.
Put him
For
at
me,
2.
I'm looking. Yeah, over 20. I'm looking at 1.
So
If I'm going studs.
he only had 3 games that he was not a wide receiver 2 for you in that 20 span.
At first Kevin did say 20 or over, you're a starter. But then this is when I brought up, I said, okay, if you want a 20 or over, you're only looking at 2 wide receivers then. And then that's when we agreed to adjust it to 15 or over.
Well, 20 or over is I'm looking at, because remember, you're starting 2 wide receivers. You have to start 2. So you're looking at 20 and over is your top guy who you're trying to, in theory, put out a perfect lineup for. That's who you would have. And then 15 is my second guy. Under that is a flex. Under 10, you're on my bench. So
then theoretically, you're calling Stephon Diggs a number 2.
what do you mean?
Because Stephon Diggs averaged 18.8.
Yes, theoretically, but he has the ability to go out there and get those games or those points. If I'm looking at where I believe somebody could fall at the time of the draft, when I'm looking to go get Diggs, I believe he could average over that 20 points, especially this upcoming year where we're now going to a full PPR. So that helps him out.
Will Fuller still finished number 30 in wide receivers in our scoring system last year, despite missing weeks 13 through 17.
That puts him at a flex spot, though. If everyone's got 2, that's 24.
At least with that finish, yes. But if you did it by average, let me pull that up real quick. He's a starter. He was 7th in average over those games.
Average is tough. Look at who's above him, because if there's anybody that had one-offs.
Also,
AJ Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, Calvin Ridley, Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill, and Devontae Adams. And also missed games too.
I think it would be hard to gauge his average just because of how many games he missed. I mean, if you miss one game for an injury, that's fine. I mean, kind of like what Devontae Adams did. But when he misses 5 games in a row, like those could have been 5 games of straight,
just
8, 9, 10 points. Yeah.
I mean, I bet you if you look at Chase Claypool's average on games that he started for them, he probably looks like a monster because of the 2 big games he had. When if you look at the stretch after those 2 games, he probably averaged under 10 points.
Well, yeah, Claypool has a 12.9 average.
Yep.
Yeah. But he's got 2 huge games.
Which, in, what was it, week 5 was when he had the huge game of 43. Yep. After that, he only had 2 games that were over 20.
Yep. Who knew we were going to have this long of a discussion about Will Fuller the 5th? It's almost like we're talking about Traquan Smith or something here.
Where is Traquan?
That's
32.
That's what I'm interested in. Is when we get to our wide receiver conversation next week, does Josh have Trey in the top 13 or 12?
Where?
Bro, I'm looking at the top 32. He's not there if that's what you were hoping for.
No, I'm looking at averages.
Stretch that list out to about 100 and see if you find him.
I'm going.
But that does wrap things up for us on our list here for the evening.
Yeah, it does.
71.
We got a few more things we got to get off our chest before we get out of here. So I did send out emails to everybody just before we went live tonight, all of our general managers and rookie general managers, for the voting for the general manager of the year and rookie general manager of the year, and then also for you all to fill out the survey, that the end of season survey that we have. So please go back out and check your emails again. It should be out there. Last call, we only had 30 of the 72 total across the entire Lions that have taken it so far and voted for. So please go out. Those announcements of the general manager and rookie general manager of the year, top scoring team of the year, will all be made next week on our show on the 10th when we're doing our end of season awards show. But before we get there, we've already said this a couple times tonight. Empty Wagon will be live this weekend, Friday going into Saturday. We will be doing a happy hour on the big game at the end Sunday, which happens at 6:30 5:30 p.m. That's when it starts. The game starts. We will be in happy hour at 5:30 p.m. on Sunday. Average Bros will be back next week on Tuesday at 8 p.m. We'll run through the running backs, and then we'll do the end of season awards show. Maybe we'll do the wide receivers then. If not, we'll do it one of our episodes in the off season. We'll talk about it because we got to take a little bit of a break. After we finish that show next Wednesday, at least the Fanatically Real broadcast is going to take 3 weeks off. We will be back when we open the season on 1 March for 2021, but I think the Average Bros are going to stick around. If they're gracious enough, I'll be able to come over and join them, and maybe we'll do the wide receivers then and get that done. And then, Josh, let everybody know what's going on with your Twitch streams for this rest of this week and next week.
Oh, okay. So usually, basically, we have the Madden stream that is on Friday nights at 7. However, I unfortunately have to work Friday night, and I don't want to be pressed for time on making it to work on time. So I am moving the Madden series, I guess you can call it, over to YouTube. And it's pretty much the same as my Twitch username. It's Golden Boy Gaming. And then after that, everything is still normal. Saturday night stream at 9 p.m. will be the same as always, where it's just me doing whatever. And sometimes that one joins me whenever he wants to be awake for it. And yeah, that's it for me.
My beauty rest is more important than your gaming.
Yeah, you need more than a rest to fix that beauty.
As we're getting out of here for the night, finally, everybody, thank you to all of our sponsors this year with E55, who is our Arm and Leg League sponsor, Football Darts broadcast sponsor, Nature Coast Tailgating, our World Championship sponsor, which, by the way, Brandon wrote me today from Nature Coast, and the boards are on their way to the Chris Betts, our world champion. So I can't wait for them to get up there so we get pictures of them and show them to everybody. All of our bowl sponsors this year: Finger Lakes Mercantile, Cranky Veteran Candle Company, Southern Siren, Sugar Scrub, Deep South Creations, Shell and Mel's Boutique. And of course, thank you to Recast, who are the official music of the FSA. If you liked tonight's show, please go out, like, share, and subscribe on all of our social media outlets. And don't forget, we are Fanatically Real. You all have a good night.